Today, I have an interesting story, the last ticket for you. The wind howled through the streets of the city like a song of longing. Snowflakes danced in the air, settling quietly on windowsills and rooftops, muffling the usual city sounds into a peaceful hush. Emma Jensen stood outside the central train station, her wool coat pulled tight around her, a package in her hand, and a quiet storm behind her eyes. She had been standing there for nearly 10 minutes, watching the arrival board flicker with glowing orange text, listing trains she wouldn't be boarding. In her gloved hand, she clutched a plane ticket to Vancouver. A gift from her husband, Ryan. A single ticket. Her parents had moved to Canada 5 years ago. Since then, life had filled up with jobs, debt, rent, and responsibilities. Holidays had become phone calls and video chats. Ryan, who worked long shifts at the local music store, had quietly saved up for months just to buy her this one-way ticket to visit her family. It was his Christmas gift to her, one she hadn't asked for, but one she had dreamed about. Now, hours before departure, she found herself hesitating. Emma and Ryan had been married for 3 years. They lived in a one-bedroom apartment above a bakery that always smelled like cinnamon. It was modest, cozy, and filled with tiny signs of love. A mug with a chipped heart they both used. A shared Spotify playlist full of inside jokes, and post-it notes on the fridge that read, "I made you tea," or "Don't forget your gloves." Ryan was a musician at heart. His guitar, a battered old Fender, was like a third person in their marriage. He never complained about working weekends, about being exhausted, about missing gigs with his old band. He had grown quieter over the past year, weighed down by life's necessities. But Emma noticed how he lingered by the glass display at Carter's Collectibles every time they passed it, staring at the signed guitar of Joel Grady, his childhood idol. It cost nearly $1,000. They both knew it might as well have been $1 million. What he didn't know was that Emma had seen the way he looked at it tanned. She had done something about it. Emma was a violinist once, before her grandfather passed away and left her his vintage German violin. It was the most beautiful thing she owned, the most precious. But it had sat untouched in their closet for 2 years, more a memory than an instrument. 3 weeks ago, she had taken it to a collector. They gave her $900, just enough to buy the Joel Grady guitar from Carter's. She had hidden it at her friend Nora's place. She planned to give it to Ryan on Christmas Eve. The only problem was the plane ticket. She had planned on returning the guitar after the rent went up, but Ryan had surprised her first. He handed her the envelope one night after dinner. "For Christmas," he said. "Go see them. You deserve it." She had cried, silently. Not from happiness, but from knowing what she'd have to choose. She stepped into the ticket counter line at the train station. Her heart pounded. She hated herself for it, hated the guilt twisting in her gut. But she knew what mattered more now. "Hi," she said softly to the clerk. "I'd like to cancel this ticket. Is a refund possible?" The woman behind the glass barely looked up. "Cash or credit?" "Cash, please." Moments later, she walked away with an envelope full of bills. She took a cab straight to Carter's. The shop was quiet, a bell jingling as she walked in. Mr. Carter, an older man with thick glasses, greeted her with a knowing nod. "Back for the Grady, huh?" I wondered. She placed the cash on the counter. "Wrap it up, please." That night, she snuck the guitar into their bedroom closet. Her hands trembled as she taped the small gift tag to Ryan for all the songs you never got to play. Ryan sat on the couch that night, strumming his old guitar. The strings buzzed slightly out of tune. Emma made cocoa, but her mind was elsewhere. "You excited to see your folks again?" he asked, smiling gently. She nodded. "I am. I just wish you could come next year," he said. "Maybe we'll both go. I've got some extra shifts lined up. We'll figure it out." She wanted to tell him then, about the guitar, about everything, but the words caught in her throat. Instead, she kissed his cheek and curled beside him, listening to his song echo softly in their tiny living room. The next morning, Emma woke early and crept to the tree. She slid her gift beneath it and smiled. She knew he would love it. Her heart felt light despite the snow piling outside. But when she stepped into the kitchen, she found something unexpected. A wrapped box on her chair with a tag in Ryan's handwriting. For the journey, her chest tightened. Slowly, she opened it. Inside was a violin case. New, sleek, inside that. A delicate wooden violin. A note lay beside it. "I know it's not the same as your grandfather's, but I wanted you to have music again. I sold the Grady guitar. You going to Vancouver means more love." Ryanima sat down, stunned. He had bought the violin by selling the very guitar she had just repurchased. Ryan came into the kitchen, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "You weren't supposed to open it yet," he said, smiling. She couldn't speak. She simply walked over to the tree, picked up the guitar box, and handed it to him. "Open this first." He frowned, but unwrapped it. His face changed. "Emma, how did you?" "I sold my violin," she whispered. 3 weeks ago." They stood in silence for a moment. Then they laughed soft, breathless laughter, like letting go of something heavy. He pulled her into his arms. "We're idiots," he said. "The best kind," she replied. They didn't return either gift. That night, they played music together for the first time in years. Ryan on his dream guitar, Emma on the violin he bought with love. They played old songs and made up new ones. The city outside was still and white, but their apartment glowed warm with light and melody. Emma didn't fly to Vancouver that year, but her parents said, over the phone, they'd never heard her sound so happy. Love doesn't wait for perfect moments. It isn't found in grand gestures or glittering packages. It lives in small sacrifices, in knowing someone's dreams and quietly placing them above your own. That Christmas, Emma and Ryan gave each other everything, and gave up just as much. They were poor in money, perhaps, but rich in the way that mattered. And as they fell asleep on the couch, fingers still sore from strings, they both knew this was a story they'd tell forever. A story about the last ticketon, the first gift they truly shared.